So, what do you guys want to talk about? At this point, man, there's really nothing to talk about. There's really nothing to talk about without repeating myself. Really, I've been repeating myself for the past 10 or 20 videos because Triple H and WWE continues to make the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, and I'm tired, man. I am tired of complaining. I'm tired of criticizing because really, I'm just repeating myself at this point. WWE won't stop making the same mistakes again, man. So at this point, this is just getting tiring. This is just getting useless. And all hope for WWE even getting remotely better is completely lost. Whether it's Triple H and WWE putting in zero effort to build up the matches for WrestleMania, or just the fact that their product just overall stinks and seems to be going in a very bad direction, everything in WWE just sucks right now, man. Everything. Remember last year on the Road to Mania when, the worst thing you could get was AJ Styles versus LA Knight, which wasn't even a bad feud, It just wasn't great. Not great was the worst thing you could get last year. And now this year, not great is the best thing you could get. Why? How was it even possible to fall off this bad, man? It really makes you wonder how things are going to be looking next year. Or forget next year's WrestleMania, man. Just this year. Just this year's Backlash, this year's SummerSlam. Everything's going to be absolutely stinky, man. Everything's going to suck. I've seen people already saying, oh, don't worry, guys. SummerSlam's going to be good. That's going to be this year's WrestleMania. No, it's not. You guys are just doing the same thing you guys were doing with WrestleMania this year, where you fantasy book all these big matches, all these dream matches, and we get one good match, one exciting match, and even that has a very poor build-up. Everyone's saying, oh, don't worry, guys, this is only the beginning, because we're going to be getting stuff like Cena versus Punk, and, Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. We're going to be getting that later on in the year, maybe SummerSlam. No! We're going to end up with some random nonsense like Jey Uso versus Joe Hendry or something. You know what I mean, right? Some random stuff just because they have a good catchphrase or, they have a good theme song or whatever. There's absolutely zero emphasis on good storytelling. There's absolutely zero emphasis on good wrestling. Really, all you need to do in WWE now is to have a good catchphrase and, a good theme song that they can advertise, and make a bunch of money with and make a bunch of merch with, That's all they care about now. That's really all it is now. Really, there's no good wrestling, no good storytelling, no good nothing. Anyways, with that being said, let's jump right into tonight's Friday Night SmackDown. The show kicks off with Nick Aldis announcing that he's really pissed at Randy Orton for RKOing him last week. But, the higher-ups have told him to be professional. So he just allows Randy Orton to, come into the ring and talk things out. And Randy Orton comes into the ring and he just says, look, man, you should have seen it coming. Because, last year or, 1.5 years ago, I already paid my fine. I paid $100,000 instead of $50,000 and said that, that's for next time. So really, you shouldn't be pissed at me. And Nick Aldis really gets pissed because, he wants to stand on business. He doesn't like that Randy Orton can just RKO him and just get it over with. So he's like, no, I need you to respect me, man. I need your respect. And then, Randy Orton and Nick Aldis just have this basic back and forth that really doesn't lead to anything with, Randy Orton just begging for a Mania match. Because he's just like, Nick, please, Nick, this is my 20th WrestleMania. Please, Nick, I need a match. And then we hear, and immediately I was like, no! Solo Sikoa versus Randy Orton for WrestleMania. Are you kidding me? But then, never mind, because Solo Sikoa just starts, meat riding Jacob Fatu and talking about his U.S. title match against LA Knight at WrestleMania. And really, that's it, There's really no reason why Solo Sikoa had to interfere and, interrupt Randy Orton here. He really had no business here. And the only reason why they did it is so that they can set up a nonsense main event match with Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga versus LA Knight and Randy Orton. What is this main event, man? This is the main event of SmackDown we're getting on the Road to Mania 8 days before WrestleMania. 8 days before WrestleMania, this is what we're getting as the main event of SmackDown? Just last year, man. Last year, we were getting Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre on the main event of Raw. On a weekly show, we were getting two of the biggest main eventers in the company wrestling. And this year, we're getting the type of tag team main event match that we get in December. Between the big gap we have between Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble, and where we just do a bunch of filler nonsense, that's the kind of match we're getting 8 days before WrestleMania? Are you kidding me? Get out of here, man. Triple H has completely lost it at this point. He does not know how to build a big match. He does not know how to build a big show. He doesn't know anything, man. He's completely lost it at this point. He's lost touch this early in his booking career already. Forget about it, man. Really, there's no hope for this company whatsoever. So anyways, yeah, this was nothing, Solo Sikoa just says a bunch of stuff that pisses off Randy Orton, and Randy Orton just goes, the voices are talking to me, the voices are talking to me, the stuff that everybody in the IWC glazed for some reason, Randy Orton just being all angry for no reason whatsoever every single week, every single week it's just like, the voices, they're talking to me, and, they counsel me, like, why? Dude, this is Solo Sikoa, it's not that serious, man. It's really not that serious. So yeah, they just have Randy Orton raging and teasing the punt kick and all that stuff just to get a cheap pop. But really, it's at least to nothing, and it overall is nothing, man. It's for nothing. Because again, Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga just attack Randy Orton after that, and then LA Knight comes to the rescue. And yeah, like I said, this leads to the main event match. A stupid main event, that is. So really, we didn't get what we wanted. We wanted answers as to, who's Randy Orton's opponent going to be at WrestleMania. We didn't get that. They teased Nick Aldis returning to the ring in this promo with, Randy Orton saying, I'm so desperate for a WrestleMania match that, I'm even, willing to face you, Nick Aldis. And we never got anything about that, Nobody addressed that or whatsoever. So this was pointless, this was boring, and just an overall waste of time. Get out of here, man. Let's just move on. And then we see a women's tag team gauntlet match with, Lyra Valkyria and Bayley starting things off with Pure Fusion Collective. How did Triple H, how can you even be, dumb enough to book this, man? How? How is it even possible to be this dense? How can a booker be this bad? You have a tag division, a women's tag division that's filled with a bunch of nobodies that really don't, are not interesting enough or are not doing anything interesting enough to be on the Mania card. And, now we got to sit through a 30 to 40 minute gauntlet match with a bunch of nobodies just to get a winner, winners that are the most predictable winners in the history of predictable winners. Who? Tell me, who watching this match was going, maybe Pure Fusion Collective might go to WrestleMania? Who thought that? Who would have thought that, maybe the Secret Service is going to WrestleMania? Nobody thought that. Everybody knew Lyra and Bayley were going to WrestleMania, so you should have just gotten this stuff over with, man. You should have just given us a 2-on-2 match with Bayley and Lyra versus, Caden Carter and Katana Chance or whatever, because they're the only remotely good tag team in this match. So yeah, you could have just given us that 2-on-2 match and just had Lyra and Bayley go over and just gotten this thing over with, man. Instead, we got to sit through a 30 to 40 minute gauntlet match with a bunch of no-name tag teams that really WWE has no long-term plans for whatsoever, because really they don't care about this division or the tag titles. They don't care about it, man. They put zero effort into anything related to these tag titles, but we're supposed to watch a 30 to 40 minute match with that? Get out of here, man. This sucks. So anyways, yeah, this was a long, dragged out, boring match, alright? And only one part of it was good, when you had Lyra Valkyria and Bayley versus, Katana Chance and Caden Carter. That was the only part of the gauntlet match that was actually good, because the rest was just stinky, alright? Oh, well, what do you mean Piper Niven and Alba Fire in this match? Dude, Piper Niven is ass, man. She sucks. I'm tired of people, defending her, saying, she deserves more. She deserves to be tag champion or whatever. Okay, nobody's saying that. All right, but people got to start talking about the fact that she sucks, man. She absolutely sucks. Literally every single match she's in has a bunch of botches, a bunch of miscommunications. It's not a coincidence, man. She just sucks. The sunset flip powerbomb they were trying to do out of the ring, that was really botched. And the fact that she couldn't even hear the ref counting, so she kicked out at 1, really did this. She sucks, man. She absolutely sucks. And, her and Alba Fire were the last ones, the last team on the gauntlet match who Lyra Valkyria and Bayley beat to become the number 1 contenders for the tag titles. Are you kidding me? No way. I never saw that coming. All right, man, let's just get this over with. Let's just move on. Anyways, then we were supposed to get the scheduled face-to-face segment between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Damian Priest makes his entrance, but Drew McIntyre beats the heck out of him. and, takes him out, and Damian Priest is escorted backstage while Drew McIntyre gets to cut a promo. Drew McIntyre says stuff like, oh, Damian Priest, he's been in my worst moments of my career for the past year or so. The fact that he cashed in on me at WrestleMania and took the world title away from me, even though I held it only for like 5 minutes and 46 seconds. And then, he was also the champion heading in a Clash of the Castle, where he got screwed in front of his friends and family, and, now he eliminated him from the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, so clearly he hates Damian Priest. He absolutely hates him, and, this makes sense, that's the thing. This feud, it actually makes sense, and it's a good feud on paper. I'm not gonna lie, the promos, the, physicality, the brawls we've been getting every single week, they're actually good, and Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre are actually doing a good job. But the thing is, it's WrestleMania, man. It's WrestleMania, and, Drew McIntyre was, talking about Roman Reigns for like 3 months, saying, oh, I'm going to go after Roman at the Royal Rumble, and all that stuff, and he just ended up, forgetting about it. Really? He talked about Roman Reigns and the bloodline for like 3 months, saying he's the bloodline hunter and all that stuff, only to job out to Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, and then completely forget about Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns completely forgetting about him. So really, all of this just makes Drew McIntyre look like a loser. But here's the thing, I've seen Damian Priest getting a lot of hate for this. And that really sucks because I don't hate Damian Priest. I actually really like him. I've liked him ever since he debuted at the Royal Rumble in 2021. And I've wanted him to be in the main event scene ever since. But the problem is that every single time he's been given a push or, a decently good push in the main event scene, it's been super forced. It's just forced, man. Like the stuff he did with Gunther, super forced. The stuff he's doing with Drew McIntyre now, super forced. Because it's not natural. Drew McIntyre went from talking about Roman for 3 months to randomly feuding with Damian Priest. So really, Damian Priest's whole push is just super forced, man. It should feel more organic. Realistically, this guy should be in a multi-man match for the U.S. title at WrestleMania, where I wouldn't mind seeing him win personally. But, that's what he should be doing. Something organic, something that actually makes sense, instead of just, forcing him into a one-on-one match with Drew McIntyre. But yeah, like I said, the feud itself, it's not bad. It's really not bad. As a matter of fact, it's pretty good. Both men have delivered on like almost every single aspect, whether it's the promos or the brawls. They've always delivered. Even this week, Drew McIntyre's promo was pretty good. And then in the end, he takes off his eye patch and, reveals that he's 100%. So Damian Priest is now 100% dead at WrestleMania. And then Damian Priest comes back and we get another brawl with Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, where Drew McIntyre once again beats the heck out of Damian Priest, and then, we get this really funny face from Damian Priest after he gets his head stomped on the steel steps, so that was pretty funny, that was pretty cool. So yeah, like I said, that's all I have to say about this whole rivalry, this whole story. Good story, good rivalry, good everything, just wrong place, wrong time. Anyways, let's just move on. Anyways, then we see Rey Fenix versus Berto. Yeah, nobody cares, man. Really, nobody cares. I'm saying this as a Rey Fenix fan, all right? I really like Rey Fenix. I've been watching him for years, and it's really nice to see that he's not in AEW anymore, because really, he was just sitting in catering, doing nothing. Like, they just had my boy locked up, doing nothing. So yeah, it's good that he can finally wrestle, and that he's finally getting TV time and all of that stuff. But really, Rey Fenix versus Berto is a match that nobody cares about, There's no way you can expect anybody on the road to WrestleMania, 8 days before WrestleMania, you cannot expect anybody to care about Rey Fenix versus Berto. If this was an after WrestleMania thing, sure, why not? But right now, Rey Fenix is something new, something special, so you should be doing something new and special with him. Why is he not in the U.S. title division, man? Why not? You have Penta in the IC title division, so why isn't Rey Fenix in the U.S. title division? You have LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu in a singles match that nobody cares about, which is, really a SmackDown match. That's what we're getting as the U.S. title match at WrestleMania? You could have at least had it Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Rey Fenix, and, maybe Damian Priest did this match and, made it a ladder match or something. And, we could have actually gotten something good out of it. Instead, you have Rey Fenix doing this, like, meaningless stuff. Anyways, whatever, man. Let's just talk about the match. Pretty good match, I'm not gonna lie. Berto is a good wrestler. I did notice that, when he had his match with LA Knight a few months ago. He is a good wrestler, but unfortunately, I don't think he's ever gonna connect with the crowd truly, Because I know that he's a good wrestler for years now. Like, I remember that match he had with Seth Rollins on Raw in 2019. I remember that being an absolute banger. So I knew this guy was a great wrestler, but unfortunately, he just can't connect with the crowd. Because, this tag, he's in the tag division, alright? That's all you have to say. nobody in the tag division is being booked properly, and nobody in the tag division can connect with the crowd anymore, unfortunately. So yeah, this was a pretty good match, but then again, it's still meaningless, man. Because, Rey Fenix obviously beats Berto. Pretty good match again. And then, Santos Escobar tries to shake hands with Rey Fenix. He tries to make Berto and Rey Fenix shake hands. But Berto just, shakes his hand for a second and just walks away rudely. And then, Santos Escobar and, Rey Fenix shake hands. And Santos Escobar just, shows a little respect to, Rey Fenix and just leaves. So, yeah, I don't even know where they're going with this. I think that, Santos Escobar and, Legado are going to turn face. Which I don't know how to feel about it, because, I just think they need something new, so this could be it. So I'm not going to complain just yet. I think this could lead to something good. We'll see. We'll just have to wait. So for now, let's just move on. Then we get what might be the only good part of the show, and that was Cody Rhodes' promo. They arranged a lot of stuff for this promo. They had, all the previous WWE championships in the ring, and, Cody Rhodes, walked over to every single one of them and, explained the lore and stuff like that. This was actually a pretty good promo, but, I got a problem with this, because obviously this is me we're talking about. This is just a little too late, alright? This is too late. If we got this promo after John Cena turned heel, a week after John Cena turned heel, it would have been perfect. It would have been perfect. But this is too late, man. We're 8 days away from WrestleMania, so really this doesn't hit the same. It's gotten to a point where we need something absolutely crazy, like John Cena and Cody Rhodes brawling backstage, where John Cena runs Cody Rhodes over with a car or something. I don't even know. We need something crazy, or just get the match over with. That's where it's gotten to at this point. It's just do something crazy or just get the match over with. So this kind of promo really doesn't hit the same at this point, 8 days before WrestleMania. But regardless, this was a pretty good promo from Cody Rhodes. So anyways, yeah, that was the only good part of the show. That was the only remotely watchable part of this show. Because everything we got before that, and especially everything we got after that, is just straight garbage. Anyways, let's just move on. So then we got Tiffany Stratton versus Roxanne Perez in an impromptu match. Why are we getting these impromptu matches now, man? Every single week on SmackDown, it's like we get a random impromptu match where, we get this backstage altercation, this backstage, argument where, they're like, oh, I'm the best. No, I'm the best. And Nick Aldis just comes out, you know what, ladies, why don't we just have a match tonight on SmackDown? What? This is the same stuff we get every single week, man. The stuff with Zelina Vega and Chelsea Green earlier as well. Oh, I forgot to talk about that, by the way. I completely forgot about it. Or was it later on in the show? I don't even remember. Anyways, yeah, about Tiffany versus Roxanne. These impromptu matches are getting out of hand, man. They're getting out of hand. So yeah, this match was pretty good, though, It was a pretty good match, I'm not gonna lie. But then again, I don't care. I really don't care about this, man. After, watching Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair last week, where, Charlotte Flair said, Ludwig Kaiser's in my DMs. I can't care about this, man. This is the last thing I could care about. Anyways, yeah, whatever. In a pretty good match, Tiffany Stratton beats Roxanne Perez. And then we get another segment where Charlotte Flair jumps Tiffany Stratton from behind. We are way past this, man. We are way past this, and I'm tired of seeing this over and over again. 8 days before WrestleMania, and this is the kind of stuff we're getting. This is the kind of stuff I'm done, man. I am done. Let's just move on. I am done talking about this. So anyways, yeah, like I said earlier, I think I forgot to talk about Zelina Vega versus Chelsea Green, which was really a nothing match, It was 2 seconds long, and, I looked at my phone for a second, and then the bell just rang. I don't even know what happened, man. I really don't know what happened. But I did hear the announcer say that here's your winner by a result of a countdown, Zelina Vega. So I'm pretty sure that, Chelsea Green was outside of the ring, arguing with somebody or some stupid thing like that. And she just got counted out. So yeah, let's just move on, man. This is just stupid. The women's, mid-card division is just in shambles. And it's beyond saving at this point. So let's just move on. Now it's time for the main event. Randy Orton and Tama Tonga versus LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. So this match was, it was alright. It was decent. Nobody's saying these guys are bad wrestlers that are going to put on a bad match. Maybe Solo Sikoa. Yeah. But yeah, then again, this was a pretty decent match. And, Randy Orton and Solo Sikoa were brawling everywhere in the arena and stuff like that. And LA Knight hits Tama Tonga with a BFT to pick up the win. And then we see Jacob Fatu from behind, who just attacks LA Knight and closes the show. This is how we're closing the show? 8 days before WrestleMania? With Jacob Fatu, the guy that just, Ya Ramin, oh, I'm Godzilla, I am Kong, I am both of them combined, Ya Ramin, this guy, I don't even hate the man, but this guy and LA Knight, with their boring ass feud, that's what's closing out the show 8 days before WrestleMania. I'm done, man. I am done. I am absolutely done. And, we didn't even get an answer to Randy Orton's WrestleMania thing. So, there's really nothing of substance in this show whatsoever. This show might as well not even have happened, dude. And the worst part is that I think I can say the same thing about, the previous 5 SmackDowns. Because really, everything is just a bunch of filler nonsense that really does nothing to build up WrestleMania. Wow, dude, this is just disappointing. This is just awfully disappointing. Because the worst part is that this is not even a WrestleMania problem, right? This is not even a WrestleMania season problem. This is a full-blown WWE problem where everything is going to suck from now on. Really, I seriously don't see things improving anytime soon. Yeah, maybe, WrestleMania might end up being a pretty good show, pretty great show as a matter of fact, because, WWE always does this, where they have terrible build-up, and, for WrestleMania 37 and 38, for example, and, the show ends up being great, so, the fans are back to glazing WWE, pretending like the past 5 months of WWE programming wasn't trash. And then they're going to continue to have absolute stinkers of Raw and SmackDowns to build up Backlash, and, the fans are going to complain again, and then Backlash is somehow end up going to be a pretty good show. And the fans are going to be back to glazing WWE again. And this is just the same thing that's just going to repeat over and over and over and over again. There's probably going to be one good thing in WWE programming to, in all of 2025. And that is, the John Cena stuff. And even that, I'm pretty sure he's not even going to show up every single week. So there's that. Really, the entirety of WWE is absolutely cooked. And it's going in a direction that absolutely sucks for a common wrestling fan. For that, just wants to enjoy good storytelling and great wrestling. I made a whole video on it, by the way. You should check it out. So for now, for this SmackDown, this was an absolute stinker with absolutely nothing meaningful, man. I'm going to give this a 1 out of 10. A 1 out of 10. This is the worst SmackDown I've ever watched. Worst one ever. Get out of here, man. I am done with this. The video is just going to end right here, all right? Thank you so much for watching. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.